Rowan, could you just give us a few words on obviously the sad news about Lewis Jones from yesterday? Obviously, he was never missed a home game, did he? Did you find yourself in his presence much?
Only in passing. Gary and I have spoken a lot about Lewis. Gary speaks very fondly and spent a lot of time with Lewis. So, the club are great at acknowledging past and present players, and it'll be a nice sort of week next week leading into that St Helens game with some of the tributes that'll follow. But it's been cool watching a few of the videos that Phil's put together about um, the history and even the 61 grand final, I think it was it? Having a bit of a flick through that this morning was interesting as well. Obviously, a guy that's done so much for the game in general, but very fondly thought of around the Rhinos. So condolences to the family, but it sounds like he had a great life and a big part of the Rhinos, and the spirit will live on here.
No, he was rather forthright, wasn't he, about with his opinions? I know he and Gary had some robust conversations about the Rhinos and how they were playing. I just wondered whether they'd ever collared you for a chat or, at all.
No, Gary's passed on a few thoughts over the times, but yeah, Gary and Lewis had robust conversations on a regular basis, it sounded like.
And the fact that he did as so much in Australia as well after he'd achieved everything here, that it's just remarkable, isn't it? The career.
Yeah, and then, back in those days as well, that traveling and changing countries wasn't as prevalent as it is now. So to do those things and be brave enough to go and make an impact and try different things, I think is commendable, and maybe shape the way for people in the future to do it more comfortably and easily.
Yeah, it'd be nice to celebrate his life next week. Before that, obviously, this week's trip to Leigh. We'll see the squad on Wednesday, which is tomorrow. Do you anticipate many changes or many changes to the 17?
No, not too many. We'll check how Mikolaj goes. We're training tonight, so we'll see how Mikolaj goes. But he's a chance to be back in the 21. And obviously, uh, James Bentley won't be. So there won't be many changes to the 21. We've pulled through the game pretty well.
So Mikolaj last week was more possible than probable. Is he more probable than possible this week?
Maybe somewhere in between there. Yeah, I'd say he's 50-50 at this stage, but we'll see. If he gets through tonight, then he'll be better than 50-50.
And what were your thoughts on James Bentley's suspension?
I think, firstly, there's been a few of these incidents through the opening part of the season where the retaliator has got himself into trouble. So I think that may or may not have been factored into the equation there. So I'm not quite sure. But you know, James has got a bit of a reputation, but I think it's been sort of inaccurately framed of late. He's reacted a couple of times in that game, which obviously we need to work on that. And it's not okay to react, but also he got one he got a clip around the jaw, and then he got pushed into a concrete wall. So those moments of brief reaction need to be attended to, no doubt. But in his general, gameplay, the other teams are trying to get under his skin, but he's not actually reacting in general play. James has changed how he's playing the game, and he's actually refrained from getting into scuffles at times. So I think the week we're okay with that verdict, and it'll be something that James does need to learn from. But he's also shown good signs of constraint and focus during sort of when ball in play time, for sure.
You have three players in the team of the week, including Cam Smith. Can you give us your thoughts on his progress so far this year, and also on that incredible assist at the weekend, and whether you think that the captaincy's brought a little bit of extra out of him?
I think Cam's a very consistent player. I'm not sure if he's. I don't think he's played any better than he did at times last year, but he he's thriving in that sort of leadership role for sure, and he's getting to learn about his new teammates and the team and the identity that we're trying to build, and he's obviously a key part of that sort of behind the scenes and the work that's going on into the preparation. He's played good solid footy so far. He had to nearly go the distance. He came off with a couple of minutes to go, but he had a really heavy workload defensively, forced a few errors and did a pretty good job in D. And then his composure and calmness to come up with the right play in that circumstance. A lot of players wouldn't. There's almost too many options there, but he chose the one that got the job done, and he's done that in the past. That type of pass, even last year, and in the corresponding match, he threw one on the other side of the field, sort of over the top, that resulted in a try as well. So Cam's got great vision and great skill set for a middle player. So we're kind of what we expect from Cam now. Really, he's got more ahead of him, I think, but he's certainly started the season in solid form.
And you praised the resilience and the unity after the Saturday game, and it was plain to see. And for some clubs with a new group, it can take a while for that to come through. How encouraged are you that it's come through nice and early this season for you?
Yeah, we've been very well sort of connected and enjoyed spending time with each other, working hard in the preseason, in various different capacities, out in the cold and running hills and all that sort of stuff like clubs do, and away on camp, and then in the preseason matches, we were good signs of togetherness and not all the fluency in our attack just yet, but the mindset and the way that they want to work for each other has been really, really prominent. And I think defensively, our work on the try line there was nearly as good as you see as far as structure and system and working together. Obviously you still have to make the tackle and put your body on the line, but system wise, I think the players and Chev have been working really hard on that, and it's good to get some reward. But we're going to be certainly tested this week with some great attacking players at Leigh.
Yeah, that's the next question. What will you get? What do you think you'll get over there? Bearing in mind they've not won this season so far.
Yeah, they've played two really hard games. They've fought hard, scrapped hard. There's been some incidents in both of those games that have influenced the flow of the game and perhaps the outcome even. So we're under we're not looking at the results of those games. We've got a lot of respect for what Leigh have done as a club in a short period of time. Adrian's a quality coach, and I think with Apape and Asiata not there, that puts the ball in the hands of Moylan and Lamb more. So they're both very dangerous players and players we respect a lot. So we're very conscious of doing our work in the middle of the field and getting stuck in, but also being very well prepared for their shift plays and their ability to combine on the edges.
And lastly, Brad Dwyer's going to be up for it, isn't he? He's just joined on loan just in time to face Leeds.
Yeah, I imagine so. He's played Leeds in a few different jerseys now, so he's a good competitor, and you never know exactly what you're going to get. He's working it out play by play, but he's a dangerous player. He's very quick and he can sense a bit of space, and he's not afraid to back himself. So look forward to trying to shut Brad down.
Just going back to Bentley or the disciplinary, were you surprised that Catalan had 3 sin binnings and no charges? Did that surprise you a bit?
I haven't looked at the other charges. I got my message from Paul Cullen to say that James had a grade B and Justin had a grade B as well, which I was quite surprised by Justin's charge.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that. Didn't seem to be an awful lot in it at the time. He's obviously not had a ban, but it could affect him in the future if he gets another charge. You think that was a little bit harsh?
Well, if that one's a grade B, I'm not sure what a grade A looks like.
3 games in, what do you make to your start to the season so far? How would you summarise it?
Steady. We've played, in 3 significantly different conditions against 3 significantly different teams. And we've found different ways to be competitive in each game, which I like that fact. I don't like the concept of you've got a limited way of sort of winning. There's got to be different ways to win. And I thought last week it was clearly our bravery with the ball, but also our commitment to defending our try line were the key parts. So I really like that. I haven't really thought about round two since round two. So it's hard to sort of clump those games together. But I think as a group, we've shown some resilience, we've shown some calmness, and we've shown patches of what we're capable of doing. But we're looking forward to starting again this week and rolling the sleeves up and getting stuck in over at Leigh.
It's early days, obviously, and you've not had your best or your first choice 17 out yet, particularly in the pack. Do you think there's a lot of improvement still to come?
I don't think I've had first choice 17 since I've been here, for whatever reason, judiciary or injuries. But we're working towards that, and we're getting closer towards that, I reckon, in the not too distant future. I'm excited by what's ahead, no doubt. There's a lot of belief in our group. There's a lot of talent in our group, but we're still new as a group. Some players are into their sort of second year as a regular Rhinos player, and there's very few that have been part of the group for a long period of time. So we're evolving and emerging, but we're trying to accelerate that process as much as we can. But we'll take it a week at a time while we're doing it.
Just wanted to ask you about Corey Johnson, who's gone to Bradford on loan. What was the thinking behind that?
Well, we've got Ackers and O'Connor that are in front of Corey at this point in time as a hooker, and also I see Corey's ability to play in the halves there as well, but he's only in a backup role there as well. So Corey's in the last year of his contract, and he also he needs to be playing regularly at the highest standard he can. So at this point in time, that's championship. So we'll monitor how he's playing there, and it's up to him to force his way back into our group.
Could he still have a future at Leeds? As you mentioned, he's in the last year of his contract.
Yeah, I've got a high opinion of Corey. I think Jared and Ackers are both contracted here beyond this season as well. So Corey'd have to be a versatile player to sort of add value to our group moving forward. But that's a decision for us and for Corey in time. But the main thing for Corey at this point is to establish himself at Bradford and play some good hard rugby, and things will open up for him wherever that is.
Are we likely to see other players going on loan or dual register Halifax over the next few weeks?
Possibly, yeah. We've been hampered, particularly in our forward pack, by injury and suspension early in the season, so we haven't really considered that at this point. But there will be players going to get some game time at Halifax for sure, and it's important that the timing is right for the player and also for Halifax, because they've got their own goals and ambitions and stuff as well. So it's up to us to complement that. We play, all those young kids play. They'll play reserves on the weekend, so they'll be able to dust the cobwebs off and get some game time under their belt, and then we'll assess, about dual reg and loan as we go.
Just finally, Leon Ruan's been in the squad the last couple of weeks, and he obviously was involved in the build up to Cam Smith's try the other day. You've been pleased with the way he's come in and made an impact so far this season?
Yeah, limited opportunity at Hull KR there, but he's what he did competently. That was a big moment in the game, obviously, and young players often get a bit excited when they see a bit of daylight. But he composed himself really well, and then Fralls does what he does as far as composure goes, and played the ball, and we got him on the next play. So that was a big moment. I thought Leon carried the ball well. He had half a dozen carries or so, and did a solid job there. For those kids that haven't played at this level, and it's been a big return from a serious injury for Leon. So we're just building him up, and then it'll be up to him to compete for game time, which he's he's certainly doing by doing a solid job on the cameos that he's done so far.
Just on James Bentley, you sort of said there he's sort of tidied up his game a little bit. Is that off the back of conversations you had with him in the off season about a need to do that, or has he kind of done that off of his own back? How has that sort of panned out over the off season?
I think something that stuck with me in my time with Craig Fitzgibbon. He used to talk a lot about how you live your life is how you play your footy. So I think James is working really hard on his personal life and stuff off the field, and he's doing great things with property and real estate, and he's a handyman. He's got a lot of skills, that guy. So he's working on himself off the field, and I think that's coincided with more controlled performances in his matches so far. He's been hampered by a few injuries, little niggling injuries. So he's been limited with his training. I think the best is ahead for James, and the suspension's never good, but it's a chance to get over a few of those niggles and get some good work done.
And you mentioned Cam Smith earlier. Obviously, he gets through an extraordinary amount of game time. This is probably still too early in the season to factor this in, but do you have to weigh in the match limits ruling that's coming with players like Cam? Because they can obviously only play a finite amount of rugby, can't they? Is it still too early to think about that?
Yeah, it is. I don't intend on playing Cam 80 minutes every week, but it's great to have a player that can keep playing in the middle for as long as you need. And Cam's the first to admit he wants to improve his game. He doesn't see it as a finished product by any means, but he also has the ability to recover, and that's the thing. I think for those big minute guys, they're the ones that can really recover. They all get tired, but he recovers quite well. And we'll see how that minutes played stuff gets applied when the big games come. And Bevan French can't play in a playoff game because he's played in the Challenge Cup and he's run out of game time. That'll be interesting.
Just on your spine, obviously Cam is part of that spine, but I mean, 4 of those guys are new arrivals this year in Lockie, Brodie, Andy, and Matt. I mean, it's probably more nuanced than just simplifying it in one sentence. But how happy are you with where your spine is 3 weeks into the season? It seems like they've gelled quite quickly. Are they ahead of where you hope they'd be consistency wise, or is there still more work to do? How do you view it?
Yeah, all of those things. I'd agree. I think the way that we play, because we don't, work to a point and then just play from there, probably play less of that type of footy than most clubs. That there's a lot more moving parts at times. So at times it can look more disjointed than other clubs, but at other times, you can create opportunities out of, not a lot by playing a little bit different. So there's a lot of moving parts, and the best way to practice it is, 8:00 on a Friday night. And they're working through things on the field and learning about each other and how they communicate with each other. And I don't think we've got anywhere near where we can be as an attacking team, but at the same time, we've posed a lot of attacking threat. So that's a good process. And Grixie and that spine are having more rugby league chats than probably anyone else getting around. So it's a work in progress for sure, no doubt about that. But we like how they're communicating with each other.
Just lastly, just on the spine again, did you devise a way you wanted the team to play in the off season and then add the players to that game plan, or was it a case of building around the players you've got and sort of utilising their skills, if that makes sense?
Again, both of those things. The recruitment process I've spoken about a couple of times in previous interviews, but we were looking for a definite number 7 that wants to be sort of hands on the ball and manage the game a bit and think ahead a little bit. And a fullback came along that had some real ball carrying strike and threat and speed and variety to what he's doing. So they were both obviously big part of our initial recruitment, and then later on when Ackers and Croft became available, they fit. Brodie is a definite 6. He's not a game managing 7, which maybe he was started out being as a Storm and Bronco, but over here he's been a great 6, and I think he can manage the game and he supports the 7, but the pieces fit together as far as skill set and personality goes. So it was intentional. Those choices were intentional, and now we've got a framework, talk about some system and stuff, but then they've got a lot of license to find or contribute to what they think are their best plays for the week ahead, depending on who we're playing and who's playing for us as well. So there's it's give and take, and it's very much a shared process to work out how we go about things.
Rohan, I just want to ask you there, you mentioned about the new group and the turnover of players as well. You mentioned about personality. Is there certain traits you look for a player in terms of personality and what he can provide in terms of his leadership, his persona around the dressing room?
Yeah, for sure. You want people to be themselves, and you don't want everyone to be the same. And the thing with recruitment and that type of stuff, it's difficult. You don't fully know someone until they're in the building. You got to do the best screening you can by catching up and meeting in person, or Zoom calls or whatever it is. But you still fully don't know people until you're sort of in the trenches with them. So it's turned out well so far. Those guys complement each other personality wise. We've got a fullback that can't sit still and wants to buzz around talking to everyone. A 6 that's very calculated and very thoughtful and process orientated. A 7 that likes to build relationships and is very calm and composed. A 9 that wants to compete and just rip in and give good service to everyone else. So there's kind of some personality traits that fit with how they play, which has been positive so far.
And as a coach heading into a new season, do you like to see the freshness in a group? Is it always good to see new faces coming into a changing room, into a locker room? Is it always good to have that bit of freshness at the start of the season, to have new characters, new voices, new attributes? Does it, as a coach as well, does it almost give you a lift, a jolt of enthusiasm to be dealing with new characters, new personalities as a coach?
It's great meeting, and getting to work with new people. I really enjoy that aspect of sport. But also at this club, we're trying to generate some cohesion and some consistency from season to season. So I think in future years there'll be less turnover. There'll be far less players coming in next year. But it was circumstances and situation that was it had to be done. And it's been effective so far, but we've got that so much work to do, and we're nowhere near where we want to be just yet. But it's exciting working with new people and getting to know people.
Yeah, and you mentioned about so much work to do. Is it all about the bread and butter stuff at the moment when you're talking about a new team, and the finer sort of details, the finesse? Does that come later on in terms of set plays and set pieces? Is it all about the start of the season getting the cohesion right in terms of attacking and defending at the moment when you're dealing with a new team, basically?
Yeah, I think you're trying to get that finesse, and you need to execute some good plays, because it's hard to break teams down. There's so many teams that are very well drilled defensively, and obviously the surface at the moment is generally a bit heavy underfoot and a bit slippery, the ball. So it's hard to be at your best, but you also do have to play some good stuff. Otherwise, you're just waiting for them to make a mistake defensively rather than putting them under pressure. So we're trying to get our system and our sort of process stuff down and understood, but also we're trying to improve our execution at the same time, no doubt.
And lastly, Rohan, I heard you talk about Leigh there in terms of your growing admiration for them as a club and what they have done in a short period of time as well. Is that really a role model for other teams in England in terms of rugby league to look at the Leigh example in terms of where they came from to where they are now today? And is it a really case that if the right people are involved in the club, right structures are put into place, that there is no mountain that can't be climbed, that there is no barriers or hurdles in the way, that if you have the right people, the right foundation, the right structures, that you can go to the top and compete against the likes of Leeds and St. Helens and the Hulls of this world?
Yeah, I think they're a great example. I don't know, their strategy and whatnot. I only can see what I can see on the field and with their recruitment and their roster development. But they've got a good roster and they've played well in a short period of time. We've been in Super League. They've obviously got a very passionate owner who's got plenty of cash as well. So that those two, passion and cash, are a great platform for club building. But then beyond that, it takes getting the right people to implement and install, whatever their strategy is to develop a roster and a club that's going to support their players.